wholly unjustified and brutal invasion of Iraq. Of Ukraine.
Wars have been fought over oil. In a short matter of time, they will be fought over water.
We've returned. We're back.
ManCon 10?
10.
Or double digits?
Baby. Yeah. That's right.
Oh my Lord.
This thing is officially past the baby stages.
Yeah.
Now we're at the point where liberals would still try to get rid of this thing, but good red-blooded conservatives would protect the life of our podcast at this point.
That's right. Yeah, right. It's just 10 weeks, obviously long way to go in the liberal world. However, if we were an egg person, we'd be safe.
Yeah.
We'd be safe in Alabama. Yeah.
Safe in Alabama. Man, speaking of safe, did you see that one? There was a video of a state senator from Minnesota. Speaking of safety, did you see him talking about gun control? He's like, what good? You can't have a fingerprint safe for your guns because I don't know if you've known this, but you go out into rural parts of Minnesota, your cow might just try to murder your daughter. And if the gun's stuck in the safe, you can't kill that cow.
You can't kill that cow.
You can't murder the cow.
Yeah.
You've got to listen.
Well,
you got to understand the struggles.
That's the toughest part.
The dairy farmers.
Right? In every one of us, there's two wolves, okay?
Yeah.
One wolf wants to be a good father that protects their children.
Yeah.
And the other wolf wants to raise murder cows, as is your American right. And you need a gun to be able to
listen,
to hold those two wolves inside.
I've been saying that we can't have gun control, we can't have gun locks because murder cows.
How am I supposed to raise my herd of murder cows?
Hey, I saw Kung Cow into the
children.
fist. I know those cows are dangerous, all right?
Just plotting.
Just plotting.
Waiting.
Oh, man.
Very serious country that we have, the most serious and good.
And speaking of serious and good, our House of Representatives.
Yes. Yeah. Which, October of 2023 was when they were supposed to finish what they just got done this week.
Yeah, that's right.
Right.
And what a beauty it is. And nothing went off the rails at all, honestly. I think that's the best part of it.
I think it went great.
I think it went great. I think obviously Mike Johnson, beyond reproach, definitely not getting threatened with vacation of his seat by the time they get back from recess.
Yeah.
I think it's just all smiles. I think we hit the bumps in the road initially, but honestly, listen, I think this is a more mature Republican House of Representatives. All right,
and I can only describe this in sports ball references because that's the only way you can make sense. The strongest and tightest teams are forged through adversity. Yeah. You got ups and downs, but you still take the field with the team that you got. And as a coach and a leader, Mike Johnson has got the batshit craziest team that will stab him at the back. How does this exist as a government? This is a government?
It's actually pretty crazy that this is our government. I think about that sometimes. Like, man.
Can you imagine? The Kool-Aid bath, the Gatorade bath at the end of the game?
Yeah.
But it's just a barrel full of knives that you just dump on the coach.
Man, there's so many, Ken Buck and Mike Gallagher, fake friends, literally taking the Paul Ryan exit for Mike Gallagher's another one of these freaks. We talk about somebody like Mike Pence, right? And this person, Mike Pence, since he was a little boy, said to himself, "I'm going to be president of the United States." but like not like you or I, where we're like, I'll be an astronaut one day. He looked in like a little sociopath. He looked in the mirror and he meant that. All right.
Yeah.
Mike Gallagher's one of those people. He's like,
Yeah.
he's known nothing else but like public service. And he's like, I'm gonna be a senator one day. And I'm gonna like do all the things. Like he's one of those freaks.
Yeah. Which
And
there's like
he
this,
puts forth the TikTok ban and just bounces. He's like, I think I'm done.
and well, in the way that because like both him and Ken Buck waited
Yeah.
for the most inopportune time
Yes,
for the Republican Party.
best way to fuck over Mike Johnson they possibly could see. Like, how can I hurt him the most, actually?
It is so wild to see all this happen, because that's where it's like, just don't even want to do them any favors. And honestly, what I think back to, yeah, the after they had gotten rid of Kevin McCarthy,
Yeah,
and they float finally Jim Jordan makes his way
Finally.
to
Yeah.
the like, hey, what about Jim? You know, because like
About
Steve Scalise, since you know, like he was like the first one, they're like, well, he's got blood cancer, so you
This
know,
guy's
can't
not
have
gonna
this
make
guy.
it. Yeah,
And then finally they get to Jim Jordan, and then that's when you see the fascist like kick into play.
yes,
And you've got
yes.
multiple Republicans, like dyed-in-the-wool conservatives, haven't seen a homeless person they didn't want to throw in jail.
Yes.
And they were getting threatened. Their families were getting threatened. And like, I very highly doubt that stopped. Like, I don't think,
yeah. I think that's continued on for absolutely.
I don't think that these guys are just like, oh, hey, the office is getting a little crazy.
Yeah,
Honestly, I think these people's families are saying, I can't go to the grocery store without somebody threatening my life. Like, you need to stop. Like, we got to get it the hell out of here.
right.
Because,
Well, I
like
mean,
you
you
said,
remember,
like a guy like the young guy that's leaving, that was the Paul Ryan Gallagher.
Yeah, Gallagher. Yeah.
With Gallagher, like you said, right? He's dreamt of being speaker, and he had that route laid away. Like he only needed the Republicans to eventually get in, you know, in the majority sometime in the future, and Mike Gallagher would have been right there.
Yes, he was grooming for that position specifically.
But like Paul Ryan, I mean, like you're
like Paul Ryan. Yeah,
you're holding the leash of the leopard, you know. And like, and then at this point too, it's like once they got rid of Kevin McCarthy, like no one even got to like you barely get to take the car for a spin at this point, you know. And that's where I think it starts with kind of like a Newt Gingrich towards his end. You start seeing some of the reactionary right. But then, like, Boehner got his ass kicked by some of these freak shows, and then you get to start the Tea Party. Paul Ryan, Kevin McCarthy gets absolutely, like, he, you know, obliterated. He's laughing his ass off now.
Oh,
but
absolutely.
Of course, this is going to happen to Johnson. You know, like, you literally cannot make the government function and then also not be a threat to this fascist right wing.
Right. There is no satisfying the blood god. You know, like that's a silly idea that doesn't exist, you know. Like these people, they're out, like this is the core of this is not like the Tea Party where you can talk about how it was astroturfed and then like subsequently more subsumed back into the Republican Party, albeit in a little more like, you know, radical nature. Like this is the new this is kind of what Republicans have been about, is just pretty individualistic nature. Pretty like, you know, and the same could be said for the Dems, but, you know, for Republicans, it's very much just like there is no other idea there. You're not trying to present yourself as a good person.
No.
Right? Like they're just like a bunch of sociopaths just hiding behind human skin. And now, you know, like now that they're like Marjorie Taylor Greene and others are just kind of like let loose. Well, who cares? You know, like, yeah, let it run wild. Nobody's going to keep it in check. Nobody wants to any longer. It, you know, like
and I agree too with that like Tea Party, like with them willing to astroturf and really, and like in some ways like they're still doing it. Any of these wealthy people who are still saying, hey, no, Trump's it, like Trump's all we got. So like we'll keep riding it until you keep, literally empowering,
Yes.
the reactionary right, and they don't like giving up power. That's the
No.
kind of the crazy thing about, absolutely reactionary racist person is if you give them the power to control things. I mean, if you give them a megaphone, they're not want to give that up.
Oh,
That's
absolutely
like
not.
what you see
Yeah.
is like they like even think it's just like, no, you need to hear what I have to say. And what I want to say is a bunch of slurs, and like,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
like they're not
Yeah.
willing to even give that up. And of course, like they're so close to actually wielding power and they can taste
Mhm.
it, but they
Mhm.
can't operate in order to get that like that next level,
Yeah.
because yeah, initially threatening and trying, with MTG, like putting the motion to vacate, like it's just this government is it's a disaster. It's an
Yeah, it's
absolute
a whole ass
disaster.
clown show, man. Like there's
Yeah.
just and
And
like you were saying with the idea of like Mike Gallagher, these people like threatening him, like we've already seen I mean, that's the first time through of MTG getting elected, like by the end of the race, before she was like elected in, like her constituency was just openly threatening like her opponent, like going to
yeah,
their homes, like trying to drive them, out of town type of shit.
yeah.
Like this is it now, baby. This is your Republican Party.
And
This
that's
is
what
all
yeah,
you've got.
and if you can't tame those members,
Yeah.
right? If you
Which
can't
doesn't look like
eh,
it's gonna happen anytime soon.
yeah, like you're just gonna keep, like they're getting the Republican Party, and that's what passed like less than half of the bills from the other Congress that passed the least amount of bills.
Yes.
Like they're breaking the
Yeah.
record in
Yeah.
half, right? um,
And at this point, all you got to sell is culture war, man. Like you
and
don't
that's
got
it.
anything else.
That's it. So, and that's where it's like, who knows how many people are, of these, I guess, and like regular Republic, right? Just like
Yeah.
you're
Whatever
you're
that
you're
means.
you're
Yeah.
racist and you're misogynist who could keep quiet about their racism and misogyny, right?
Yeah.
Those
Yeah.
people,
Yeah.
right? That's the people we're talking about. They're leaving in droves, like
Yes.
they are going to, there's probably going to continue to be a bleed there.
Yeah. Well, I think they said Lisa Murkowski as well, which doesn't matter. I mean, Lisa
Yeah,
Murkowski is,
think about doing
for
the
all intents,
independent thing,
already an
which
independent.
yeah,
But like even Lisa Murkowski is just like, I don't think so.
yeah,
It's like, man.
yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Um,
it's a crazy thing to examine this current, like,
and
Republican Party.
and that's the thing that really sucks. And I mean, let's just get into like what was in the budget, right? Is like what the Biden
Yeah.
administration
Yeah, and so then
was
we
willing to
discovered
agree to with these people, and like,
I mean, yeah. Yeah. Like we look at some of the first couple of things, right? Like no more fucking pride flags at embassies, which is
you know,
just like, what are you this costs nothing. All right? This is nothing. This
listen,
is no like
no,
why
see,
is
and this
this
is
even a
where
budget line item for them?
okay,
Like what?
my experience
Yeah.
as a Vardaran is pretty important in this. Okay, all right, because if you've never had to stand next to a flagpole
Yeah.
and
Yep.
pull the rope, yeah, you don't
Yep.
know what it's like.
You don't know what it's like. No, you
And
know
that
what?
12.2 ounces of a whole other flag, it might give me rope burn on my hands.
Yeah.
And how am I
Yeah.
supposed to play Call of Duty afterwards?
No, I listen. I
You
was
see,
being a
like
little
none of y'all,
insensitive. I get it.
you don't think about it, about
Yeah.
those poor Marines
Yeah. Yeah.
at the
I guess that's
embassies
fair.
who have to pull the rope.
Yeah.
Come
Yeah,
on. Come on.
Yeah.
Think about the workers, please.
Think about the think about
No,
them.
and this is where it's like you get these so much, and like it's really ridiculous, like the amount of work that goes into getting that into a law.
Yeah,
It's
man.
it's
Like
absurd. It's absurd. It's absurd to do. It's so ridiculous.
Yeah. It's actually crazy.
And
Like,
it's like where it's like any type of flag, like right? It's like American flag, POW, MIA. That's
yeah.
it. Like,
Yeah.
okay.
Sure. Whatever you guys say.
Because
Yeah,
where did the pride flag hurt them? That's what like I
right.
really want to know.
Right. Like, explain to me. What is this what has this done in your life? You know? How did this tear you down so much? Oh.
It reminds me of, like the Taylor Renz and like the TikTok. It was a TikTok lady where it's just like explain how this is a actual harm. Well, you see the colors. I'm driving. I might look at the colorful flag and it distract me. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Might make me might make me sad. I look at it, might make me
Yeah.
sad.
Other great things, which like this is where it's like I think over the next probably week or two, you're gonna see like the actual like this like the actual real trickle down economics where the United States federal government passes a budget that makes cuts and it takes a few weeks for the trickle down of I lost my job or we won't be able to continue these programmings across these like government, whether it's state and local governments, whether it's non-governmental organizations and nonprofits that count on grant funding, just a myriad of things that people actually care about, and especially like there's a lot of really going after COVID funding and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Some of that funding went into like revamping like the AC units in schools, it's like, but it's like that was the only way they were able to get that investment, and like now that's chopped, right?
Sorry.
I mean, I saw that it's like a satellite or like a NASA telescope.
Uh-huh.
Like that might lose its funding and like completely get scrapped because like if you don't upkeep on these things, it's just like it's gonna become worthless in a few, in a few months.
It's just junk out in the sky.
Yeah, and so it's like basically like there's just like a myriad of things, right? That like and like Biden administration was willing to agree, oh, okay, we're willing to do this.
Right.
And
Which is again, like that's a completely separate problem to really think about. It's like these are the things that you were like, yeah, you know what? All right, that's not too crazy.
Right. And because that's where it's like that's where it's, the flag thing, it is a signal thing.
Yeah.
Not having the pride flag, it's not a material harm to the LGBT community. However, it does send them a signal as to you are probably willing to actually give on some material harm. Because if you can't relate to another person as to not only where there's no material harm, but there is the material benefit of signaling that we are a multicultural, multiracial community that is accepting of all people, right?
So that's just it. Like, an anecdote, but still, like one of my mods was like, hey, listen, like it doesn't mean much, but seeing that flag outside the embassy in my country where it's extremely homophobic, is at least something, it's at least, and now I'm going to look at these people during Pride Month. They're going to be like, good, they got rid of them, It's like, you can say like, well, there's no real material harm to the queer community, but like, if you're willing to compromise on stuff like that, I'm sorry, how much are you going to sell people down the river just to compromise with the people that you've told me are more fascist than anyone in modern history and are willing to do anything to achieve their cause? How much are you just going to shake hands with them and just say, well, hey, it was just a little bit of fascism we agreed to. Not much. Not
a whole lot.
Just a little bit. And again, this is still better than Donald Trump. Am I right?
Am I right? Yeah, exactly.
And it's like, man, this doesn't feel good, man.
Yeah,
This isn't shaking out great.
and that's where, like, yeah, like you said, like the flag is a little bit more than like the we see you, we hear you,
Yeah.
because it actually is a physical representation. It's like it stays up there. It's not just a set, and other
Yeah.
people have to deal with it. And you see, and like that's where the thing is too, is like the acquiescence,
Yes.
right? And it's like with like Target and their pride, section,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm a straight guy,
Yeah.
I
Oh. Oh.
I apologize. Okay.
Yeah,
No.
I don't fault you for it.
We're bastards, but no.
It's fine.
But this is where
I'll have our own
we have
downfalls.
we have a understand. We can understand like being able to buy merchandise in a
Yeah.
section of the store is not the end all be all to civil rights.
Yes.
However, if you acquiesce in
Mm-hmm.
a reactionary's, wishes to take away, to put away, to put, out of sight,
Yes.
right? That is actually a
Right.
statement. That actually
You're
is
giving
right.
them the thing that they wanted.
Yes. Yes.
And you're saying, well, if you vote for us, we're not gonna give them bad things. Like, well, you're kind of signaling that there's cracks in which you would, though. You
Yes.
know?
And
Like,
and this is where it's like from climate change, education,
mm-hmm.
and student loan debt, investment in infrastructure, response to climate change, like support for the Black community, support for women, support for the
Mm-hmm.
LGBTQ community,
Mm-hmm.
across the board. The Biden administration will sacrifice you to just go along to get
I
along.
mean, we talk about just last month with the border. It's like, the things that were coming out of Biden's mouth
Yes.
regarding, undocumented immigrants was just in line with what we've heard out of a lot of conservatives over the past couple of years. And
Yeah.
like that's you can tell me all day long, well, listen, baby, it's gonna be different, all right? Listen, this guy is gonna take care of you, I promise. But like I'm not
I mean,
hearing a lot these days that is giving me like, it's not
well,
I'm not really feeling safe about all that, actually.
because and the worrisome thing is that like he's just openly liable, or there's no
Yeah,
principles there, right?
yeah,
Like, oh hey, push Biden left. Well, okay, he maybe got pushed a little bit left on the first 2 years,
yeah,
but for the past 2 years been pushed to the right.
yeah.
So what does he believe? What does he believe? If Joe Biden wins the presidency, but he's got a Republican House and Senate,
Mhm. What does that mean? What does that mean for, marginalized people? What does that mean for,
what are you willing to sign?
yeah, what are you gonna for
Like
the
what?
sake of bipartisanship, for the
Yeah.
sake of bridging the gap, what are you gonna agree to, man?
And I literally, it's like I couldn't like. What would be one thing that you think, but Joe Biden would actually stand on and say no? With like I don't like. Who knows? Who knows what issue area he actually cares about?
Yeah, I just
Ah, well, I can think of one
well,
area.
there is that one thing, I guess. There is that one thing that was also part of the bill.
Yeah,
Guess there's that.
the one unwavering support.
Which, man, I don't know. Like we're gonna couple all those things together, but that there is that one thing where they could have at least began funding UNRWA again. And I'm sorry, man, to listen to Matt Miller. Like, obviously, we've gone over like Kirby is just an unrepentant psychopath, but Matt Miller at least is like, well, yeah, I mean, we're going to follow the law. We're not funding UNRWA right now, at least for the next year. But there's some other countries that are still going to be funding them. It's like, hey, brother, where did most of their funding come from? Do you remember?
Yeah,
Since the UN is an arm of the United States at the end of the day, and since a lot of those ancillary programs that come out, such as UNRWA, normally get a lot, like a bulk of their funding from the United States. What do you think most of their funding is coming from every year? Yeah, sure, you're right. They will get a pittance, but like you're talking about a devastated Gaza right now. You're talking about the IDF not letting them in northern Gaza as of right now. So that's another like hurdle that just where people are the most food insecure, they're not allowed in. And you're saying, well, for no good reason, because
None.
again, none,
None.
zero, for no good reason. These aid workers are not going to be able to get to people in need of aid, and we're going to operate at less than half capacity with the resources that they're being given.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, and like, which like largely too, of like as you are also experiencing a famine, so you're also experiencing injury that you cannot actually get addressed
Yeah.
because all the hospitals have been completely destroyed,
Yeah.
or anything like not completely destroyed, I guess, but been taken offline, if you will.
Yeah.
But no, and that's the thing, and like the really. I mean, it's shameful. Just the
Yeah.
really shameful thing is that
Yeah.
the UNRWA funding, or at least the making it like illegal to fund UNRWA for a year at least.
Actually crazy. Yeah.
That language has been in in the bill, quote unquote, like the bill draft text, whatever, for weeks,
Yes.
right? Biden, like literally since that first report. They like Biden administration agreed. Okay, no UNRWA. Fuck it.
Yeah.
Regardless of all these other countries, I mean, literally almost every other country restarting their UNRWA funding because
Yes. It's not
they've
like,
looked into it. They're like,
well, there's
listen,
also, no,
not
man.
yeah, because like, hey, the evidence that the Israelis submitted, surprise, was shaky at best, some
Yes.
outright lies. And then reports came out that the Israeli government, like the IDF, was torturing UNRWA staff in order to get them to admit that they are, to lie and say they
Which
were
I
working
can't
with
believe they
Hamas.
do. Not one of our allies. I can't
I
believe they
mean,
do
could
that.
you imagine?
Yeah, it's
Right?
crazy to really think about.
I
They
could,
do that right under our noses, right in front of us.
yeah. How could they?
For my
Right?
salad, huh?
Um, and so like weeks and weeks and weeks after, right? And like at no point in time did the Biden administration say, like, listen, like this has got to go. Like at no point in time did they say, hey, in between, right? Because that's what
Yeah,
it too of like they said, okay, at least maybe just get the money, like let's just give them a bunch of money right now.
right.
Whatever happens with the law, we'll try, absolutely nothing. And yeah, and I mean, and this is all, it's all just it's very gross because the administration is still saying, "Oh, well, we're trying to do everything we can for the Palestinian people."
Yeah,
Um, and
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Absolutely.
it's
Yeah,
just an
one hundred
outright lie.
percent. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely trying to help them as much as we can. All right. It's just Hamas has to still be destroyed.
Oh,
Which
yeah.
is why we had to obviously abstain from the latest UN resolution.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
Which and that's where it's like this is who knows how many draft resolutions for a ceasefire. I think this is maybe like the fourth.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um,
Might
but
be might be past that. I think it's like fifth,
maybe
but
yeah. Well, the
yeah,
first one to pass, right?
first one to
First
pass,
one to pass.
baby. Not without a little pushback. Obviously, it
Yeah,
took a
got
little.
pretty tight.
It
Which
took a little bit to get to this. We had to change a little language we didn't like.
that was very interesting, right?
Yeah.
Is that, and this is where even, and I mean, like to say, like the UN is, UN international law. These are vibes based. This is a vibes
Yes.
based organization.
Yes. Yeah.
International law is a vibes based legal, operation.
Yeah.
Where if like if you are an African country, the vibes are this is a real thing, and if you're not, the vibes are Hey, Dad, maybe don't do
Hey!
that. But
Matt Lee, man, what a hero in the fucking press pool.
yes,
Matt Lee literally looking, the battle of the Mats. Matt Lee looking at Matt Miller and saying, "So
and this is
they don't
where,
do it.
right,
UN doesn't do anything then, right?
the UN Security
Can we
Council,
agree with that?
right? Yeah, because it's plain. It's
Yeah.
plain. That when it
Like,
comes to the Security Council, what the Security Council says shall be instituted, right?
absolutely, without a doubt.
There's
But
all of a sudden, oh, this is not binding.
yeah,
This resolution is not binding because
you caught me on an off day. This resolution actually can't be binding because it was 48 degrees outside and there was a little bit of rain. But
yeah.
normally it would be, obviously.
Well, and on the third Tuesday on a month with
That
31
you got to pay
days,
attention to that.
the binding becomes non-binding when,
Yeah, yeah.
so it's all, what are you going to do?
What are you
What are
gonna
you
do?
going to do?
You know?
But no, yeah. And like, I think too, like where it is funny, like the UN, or at least the US just doesn't veto it.
Yes.
They just abstain. So they allow it to go forward instantly. Netanyahu, Israel, they're like, well, fuck you, United
And
States.
no, they're like, well, no. If that's all right, no.
We're not
I
coming
don't
to your
think we
special
will.
delegation party anymore. We're canceling. And
Listen, all right, we were gonna send a special delegation party to help John Fetterman blow out his birthday candles, and now they're not coming anymore. Are you happy?
we're taking our candles back too.
We're taking our candles back. All right. These guys aren't going to tip a waitress at Morton Steakhouse 10%.
That's right.
All right. How do you like that?
Oh man, but it's like that's I mean, which I feel like it's like it should have been expected. There isn't one U.S. official that's met with Benjamin Netanyahu and hasn't talked shit about that man after the meeting.
Yeah.
And because I did see some hot take. Oh, maybe this is all like, so Netanyahu's actually helping Biden seem like he's doing more. I'm like, no, Netanyahu does not give a flying shit about any of these motherfuckers.
Yes,
He doesn't care.
He hates them. Okay,
he hates them all.
He hates them all.
But
this guy wants Trump back. Like immediately,
yeah.
I don't want to sound like a fucking a Maddow type or anything, a Chuck Todd or something. But this is legitimately a guy that wants Trump back. All right,
Yeah.
This is a guy that would be none happier if there was a Republican back in power.
Absolutely,
so he could, conduct business as he'd like.
Yeah.
Enough of this fucking hand wringing over what's the right thing and what's the wrong thing.
Yeah, famine. Come on. But yeah, that's I mean, well, and like I don't know, because the United States says, well, even with the UN resolution, non-binding. Kirby yesterday was like openly saying, well, like, no, we back Israel 100%. We're sending them weapons still right now. We're sending them weapons. And if we live in a just world, the international court of justice be like, all right, hey, that was another time. All right, come on, Kirby. Like clink, like you're advocating for war crimes.
Yes,
buddy, and your government is helping. Like you gotta go to prison now.
And that's why he acts with that impunity, because we know, like, there will never be, these liberal institutions will quite literally never hold any power to account. You know, like.
And that's just where I think, like, where any importance on like a UN resolution that actually gets passed through is the green light for other countries to be able to start holding Israel accountable, and in like economic ways and sanctions and stuff like that, in a greater extent, without taking ire from the United States, because it's not just about standing up and doing the right thing. It's also, what's the pushback, and is there actually a arguable way for the United States to just like fuck with people? And with a UN resolution, and once again, it's all vibes based, right? But it's just less. It's more likely that nations will openly be against the genocide that's happening.
Yeah.
And there's less for the ability of the United States to come down on other nations that will be engaged in that behavior. So that's where I think the importance lies in what happened, in the UN. And every day I hope like this just stops. Like that's where like
Yeah.
this is just kind of like maddening is that it's
That's
it's
the
still
craziest thing to
happening.
me. Like that, I think that's the reason that I was, thinking, impure thoughts about John Kirby today, because he's speaking like, don't worry, they're gonna keep going. It's like, my man, like the UN resolution was for a cessation of hostilities during like a holy month.
Yeah.
So these people could just have some time to bury their dead and at least try to like have a little peace during what, should just be an overall like peaceful month for them.
Right.
And
Because
even then you're like, they'll never know a
and like
moment's peace, man. I don't
right.
know what to tell you.
Like, and like that's where it's like Ramadan's halfway over.
Yeah, it's not like we're talking 2 weeks, man. We're talking
Yeah.
2 weeks ceasefire. 2 weeks, a
Yeah.
couple days, you
And
know?
yeah, yeah, and that's it's just too, and not only it's like, oh well that's it's a bridge too far, but also
Yeah.
still have to give openly give weapons. Still like this credence that like, oh well, this port that we're gonna build in 2 months.
Yeah.
Is that going to help people who are on the brink of famine right now? For
Right.
people who are starving to death right
And are
now?
those things gonna get through? I think Israel's quite literally said that they're gonna be stopping and checking anything that comes
Yeah,
through, even from the US. So,
yeah.
are those goods gonna get through to actually help people, or
Oh man. Um, which and it's like AOC was finally said genocide on Jake Tapper, and like he was oh, he really backed it up, and I mean I think that she made a very good argument as to like
yeah,
why like it's been unequivocal, but like at least for anybody that's was waiting on the wings, um yeah, you're denying food to people who are starving,
yeah,
um
yeah,
you know and that's where too of like even if right if you like because like this is just humanity,
yeah,
right, the rules that we agreed upon. Even if somebody did something really bad, you're not allowed to starve them to death.
yeah.
You know? And then
We agreed.
factor in
There was a whole
you're
thing that we
starving
agreed to
mostly
with
yeah.
that. Yeah,
You're starving mostly innocent women and children and people. You're like, man, you're like, you're starving innocent people. But even if,
well,
right?
I see
Even
you haven't
if
been listening to Brett Gelman
oh,
lately, Marcus. Let me fix that for you. He's got some really sanguine things to say on this
oh my
topic. So
god, I can only imagine.
Michael Rappaport has really steered me straight
Yeah.
on all this.
Oh, well, you gotta understand. The terror babies, okay?
God, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Wait, shaking that rattle, practicing to launch rockets.
Uh,
But no, yeah, I mean, that's where, like, yeah, like, with this, let's hope that other countries actually are a little bit more forceful because it's not going to be the
yeah.
United States.
No, it's not
Um,
gonna be us. But
the,
I mean, we also saw this week other, countries taking steps to recognize Palestine, like Spain.
yeah, um,
Like,
I think the UK is like uh, they're pushing forward,
yeah,
and this is the thing where it's like that's like another possibility,
yeah.
and something I haven't really considered too
Ireland as
much
well,
until,
obviously. Yeah,
yeah, and is that Israel right now is a state that is recognized without borders,
yes,
and Palestine can be too.
yes,
The United States position is that no, the Palestinian state is to be worked out amongst the parties, right? But like, no, the border, because like this is where I disagree with this,
hmm,
but from a position of the United States government, you could recognize a Palestinian state and then say the borders are then an issue to be dealt with amongst
Yes,
the
sure,
parties,
sure.
not the statehood of Palestine, right? Because
Mhm.
like that's what they're giving up, is that the statehood of Palestine in and of itself is something to be worked out.
Yeah.
Like this is where that should be taken off the table, right?
Mhm.
Recognize Palestinian as state, and like just in the same manner of Israel, don't recognize borders, and then there could be a negotiation process as to what that is.
Yeah.
Once again, I disagree with that, but that is a position that would be not genocidal that the
Mhm.
United States could take and are refusing to.
Yeah. Well, one thing. That's I guess you're kinda in old catch-22 at this point. I don't know. I think you could talk about Obama's approach to Israel and the fact that he was, I mean, much colder than Biden would be, and so, like, the idea is, like, maybe you get another Democrat, like, maybe a Gretchen Whitmer, JB Pritzker, that would be even less, like, acquiescing to Israel in the future, but you don't get that until 2028 at least, so
Uh, yeah,
no matter what
yeah.
happens in November, you don't get that.
So excited, so
So,
pumped, right? Yeah, no,
it's
that's
at
great.
least still 4 more years of
Yeah,
torture for, Palestinians,
yeah,
so,
sweet. Yeah, no, it's yeah.
um,
Well, I mean, there's always October surprise,
there's
but
always listen, or convention coup, which,
yeah, hey.
that's happened to the old Democratic Party.
Like I will
You
become
can
the
still do it
biggest.
now. I mean, it happened for a racist reason, the old, Democratic Party, but it
Yeah,
has happened.
I will become the biggest K-hiver,
Yeah.
right? If Kamala comes out in the convention and says, "Sit down, Genocide Joe," like, listen, like I will be in
I
chucks
killed
and
him.
pearls.
Yeah. I made him fall out of a coconut tree.
I will be in chucks and pearls doing the dance.
Man,
Oh my god. Oh my god.
it would be
Yeah.
wild. Be
But
wild.
yeah.
Well, just off to the side of DC, let's talk very new news as of today, like this
Yeah.
morning.
Yeah.
Uh, let's talk about the bridge collapse for a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. Which there's I saw this and like my brain just like exploded,
Yeah,
because like you think like how does this happen?
yeah.
And
Some
it could be
sometimes it
like
just happens.
what's the
Like I just
like what's the maintenance schedule on the ship?
right,
Where are
right.
the
Like
parts getting shipped from?
just
Are
trying
the
to make sense of
workers
it,
right? What's the late like well yeah, what's the shift for the workers on the boat?
Yeah,
You know, and then, like what's the dredge on
yeah,
the river, right?
yeah.
Like why are
Like they have
boats able to
dolphins set up. Is there
yeah.
any way
Is
to,
what how does this happen? How does this happen? Or why, if a cargo ship can just run into the bridge and knock it over, maybe cars should wait on one side of the bridge until it's
yeah,
cleared. There's
yeah,
just so many public policy things, right,
yeah, yeah, yep, yep.
that come to mind, but then you get to the truth
And
as
you
to
get to the
why
and I thought about it,
it's
and
DEI.
yeah,
It's
there's some
DEI.
yeah,
There's too much
D
diversity.
D E I. I've seen the veil has been lifted off my eyes. I've seen some folks that have really turned my ideas around on that.
Yeah, yeah. If there were all middle-aged white men
Yeah, yeah.
working the ship,
Then this wouldn't have
driving
happened.
the vehicles, and also being the bridge,
Yeah.
right?
Let me read one of these to you, Marcus. They had explosives set to bring that bridge down. That was no accident. How else do you distract the public from the criminal crimes brought to light by the P. Diddy raids and cut off a major business bridge?
Yeah. No. Yes.
Right? I mean,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yes.
Listen, Twitter user
Yeah.
Elon Lover 1488 makes some points,
It makes some really good points.
Uh,
And I guess where it's like I don't know, like, because like if you've ever seen a container ship,
Yeah.
it'll change your perspective. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, it's like
Man.
you've never seen one up close. It's insane. It's like
Yeah.
insanely massive. It's
Yes.
like you take a downtown building and then just put it on its side,
Yeah.
and
And just
then
yep.
take every semi truck you've seen in the past year and like put the trailer on top of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like it's like a huge, massive thing,
Yeah.
right?
There's
There's
no,
no, you,
once
that's where
once
the
that
right,
power's out, like that's
yeah.
just that thing's just moving till it stops, you
Just
know?
fucking good luck, man. It's like because
Yeah.
like it's so massive. These things
Yes.
are
I mean,
enormous.
we learned this from a couple of years ago with the
The
canal,
ever
remember?
given,
With
right?
the good boat times. We loved that.
And like that's what
There
too,
was
where it's
no
like
moving that thing,
I remember
man.
this picture of a bulldozer
Yeah.
or like trying to
And you can understand. You've seen a bulldozer real life, and you're like trying to convince your brain, like, oh, this is just
yeah,
a tiny bulldozer. Like,
yeah,
no,
no,
that's how big those fucking things are.
there's yeah, man, good times. But
Yeah.
no, that's like it's like no, and and that's where it's like yeah, there's a lot of things. There's because the thing is like, oh, there's not one thing that would have stopped that. Like once the lights go on that boat, it's
Yeah.
done, right?
Yeah.
But there are so many decisions that our society has made that allows for this thing to happen. And that's the problem, right? Like look at East Palestine. And I literally like I don't know why, but I googled the East Palestine pictures, right?
Yeah.
Of just seeing that huge cloud, right? Going or like the smoke billowing up and then that huge darkness like that was just sitting over, right? That was just like and then it's like these are avoidable.
Yeah.
These are avoidable. It's like because
Yeah.
it's like, is there another? It's like these aren't accidents, right? Like
Mhm.
so much like as because like when they say accident, I think this is unavoidable. This is
Yeah.
just some type of you know act of nature type of thing. But we can stop these things from happening.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like like cargo ships don't just float into bridges on their own. Like they didn't fall out of a coconut tree.
Yeah.
But
There's some sort of material reality at work. Yeah. I
yeah.
mean, yeah, like there's I don't know, man. Like again, I said this morning, thankful this happened at 3 a.m. and not 5 hours later. Like, could you imagine?
Oh my god.
Like this is like an event that I would think the like and Baltimore, is asking for federal action right now, which I mean, God only knows if that even happens, Like this is a
Yeah.
multi-million dollar project at
Yeah,
like
let's hope they
least,
don't need Congress for
Yeah,
anything.
right. Like so like this idea, you know, that I mean, there is some, I guess, some discussion to be had about like how do we like look at our current infrastructure, look at what may or may not be safe, how things are situated. Like, I'm not a fucking engineer, and I'm not like an expert in like any of these things, obviously, but I do think about, from time to time, I think about something like city skylines and where they don't let me build certain structures because, or if I do, they're like, hey, well, that turned out bad. It's like, oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
maybe it's time we revisit some of these things, like the one thing I'll give Pete Buttigieg, he was doing a speech, I think it was today or, within the last week. He was talking about just how fucking racist like highways are. And it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, maybe we revisit some of those things, man. Maybe we sit
Yeah.
down and, talk about how we can better situate like, our infrastructure and our society to
And
avoid
this
some of these things.
and like I think like, if there's any, like US history like, nerds out there, it's like you look like back to the prior to the Constitution, right?
Yeah.
In an insufficiently strong federal government, you
Mhm.
know, and this is kind of like where we're at, saying like the ability to do like a national highway, act,
Yeah.
or and like hell, the one thing we forgot in the budget, funding for internet.
Yeah.
Subsidies for people's internet, and especially like rural electrification, rural
Yeah.
internet, stuff like that. This takes national funding
Yeah.
because literally there's no government that actually takes care of these rural communities, and it's because it's just for each individual state, it's a wash,
Yeah.
you know. You're gonna lose, just gonna lose out on like there's no right, like there's no money return,
Yeah.
because they'll say you give the city internet, they'll create enough economic,
That's
investment to
always
it,
that's
and
always the discussion that should be, like, I
yeah.
imagine is had and then just kinda, like, blown off,
Well, that's
Like,
the thing,
that's
right? And it's like we no longer have the conversation of there needs to be a bottom layer of infrastructure for everyone,
yeah.
right? And like that's where you get highways and electrification across. You got actual like some type of um coherency,
Yeah.
that like that when you drive out of Ohio and into Indiana, you're
Yeah.
not gonna go from pavement to gravel,
Right.
like there's got to be continuity there.
Well, and
Um,
that's the discussion I know you and I have had, but just in general, like, what a how are we the richest country in the world, yet we can't have these things? Just
yeah,
you can say whatever you want, you can make whatever, well, different states do things differently. Well, there's so much of America and it's so large, but like I'm sorry, I'm just lost in like this idea that we can't take like our current like structure of society and just make it better. If we've got the money for all
yeah,
these, like,
because
we got the money for boondoggles and wars aplenty, but
yeah, and I don't have the
can't
advantage.
invest in the people.
I was talking with a friend of mine earlier,
Mhm.
um, because and it was about the bridge thing, and it was like, well, like we start wondering, well, how much does each of those little, how do they call them, like dolphin boot, like whatever,
Yeah,
like
the
those little
dolphins, yeah, yeah,
protective things, right? How
yes.
much does one of those cost, right? And you start looking into it, it's like, like because like I literally was like, how much? Just asked like, how many F-35s was it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And it was basically it comes out to like one for one.
yeah,
The work to emplace a dolphin is like the price of an F-35,
yeah,
and I was just like, well, like you can see now what do we care about?
right.
And
And, well, I
and
think
they
there's
all listed
another
fungible, right? Of like
yeah,
if we had this deep investment of national high speed rail,
yeah,
you do have that huge sink of the initial debt, which
mhm.
it's just you know
No,
like
it's nothing.
numbers on it's just
You're
numbers,
paying
yeah.
towards the future being better. That's it.
Exactly, right? But then it's like you've got all of the wages of the people who are working, the money that they're spending,
Yeah,
and then the future in like the actual future investment. Because that's what the thing is too, where it's like almost large infrastructure projects
yeah,
are almost a return on investment just off of like the wages that you paid from the building of the thing and the economic boom of workers spending money in new areas and all that
correct.
type of shit, right? And then you've got, hey, did you actually build something worth using, right?
Mhm.
And like if it come to a rail system or highways and all those things, but that's the thing is that like we haven't invested in the infrastructure sufficiently in decades, and not even
Yes.
with the plan, the investment that the Biden administration did. You know, there was like 40 something billion dollars, I think, for Amtrak that was allocated,
Mhm.
and it's just not enough.
Yeah,
It's just like what I'm saying. It's like, oh, hey, 40 billion, that's not enough, or that's a lot of money, but that $40 billion could have just been eaten up within like the Amtrak line between DC and Boston.
yeah. Like, I don't know, you just like, these are such small numbers to think about, like, in the realm of, like, like, you look like, I hate to do it to them, but, you look at China that has invested in high-speed rail over the past 10, 15 years, and the returns that they've seen out of that, like far outweigh any construction costs, and they've been laying like, you know, hundreds of miles of track every couple of months, man. Like
Yeah.
they just,
They're only getting better at it. And you're
yeah,
like,
like
of course,
that's
right?
it.
Like,
And we had a point in this country where we did that with rail.
yeah.
You know, we could, and we did that with highways. Like, there's a point where we could get to where we, you know, just all at once said, doesn't matter the cost, does not matter. It's actually not important because the buy-in of this, what it's going to create for future generations, is what it's going to create, or you know, this, if you truly believe in that, the supremacy of the American project comparative to other countries, we're just going to do it. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
like
And I mean,
if that's the thing that you actually believe in, then
which like
doesn't matter the cost.
the fact that it's like that power lines are above ground.
Yeah,
Right? You know,
yeah,
like, cause like this is where it's like the climate crisis is here.
yeah.
Like
Well,
power lines,
there's a lot of newer communities they're doing it underground, which is
but
very
yeah,
smart. But yeah, like a
but
lot
that's
of,
where it's like
there's
it's
so much
like
overhaul
these are
needed for power lines. Yeah,
exactly right. There's like there are so many things, you know, that like you could actually make a good investment into every community and just say, not only is every power line going under the ground to protect it, also, you know, if we could do fiber optic,
yeah,
you know, well,
yeah,
nationwide, hey, you know what I'm saying? Right?
yeah,
Like, what if you actually made a real investment into the communities, you know, that was across the board? Um, and that's where those like that is like the a big that's big yeah, that's just like a big government investment that I don't like. It's just not possible when you look at who is sitting in this in the very same seats, right? That these,
yeah.
you know, these, you know, like it's at when the investments were made. Look at the people who are in there now, and it's just impossible, right?
Yes.
The people who are covering down on in like the left wing of those seats, they've got no demand, you know, like no demand on, you know, from them from labor, no demand on them from real like any type of like social issue groups, any of the organizations that actually put pressure on the people sitting in their asses in those seats are not as strong or do not exist anymore. And now, you know, and it's like now we're just sitting here in this like neoliberal hellhole. As like, or like literally, it's like, you know, like I said, East Palestine, all these planes and the doors are falling off, the bridges
Mhm.
collapsing, apartment complexes falling in on people, you know, and then it's like, like there, there was a fire, like
Uh-huh.
a wildfire in Texas in February. Then two
Yeah.
weeks later, places are getting blasted with snow. Like,
Yeah.
we're gonna, you know, then that's where too it's like this is where, you know, with these MTGs and these Johnsons and these fire and brimstone lunatics, you know, without a real solid, you know, without something real for these people to hold on to, they're going to start grasping at the idiocy and violence.
Well, again, and to cap off talking about the bridge, I've got, give me a second. Let me find it here. I've got the MTG response.
Oh God.
There should be a serious investigation into the horrifying tragedy. Is this an intentional attack or an accident?
Oh,
Like, these people are fucking
yeah.
maniacs, all
Yeah.
right?
No, it's
We
the Houthi.
have to, we like,
Listen, the Houthi rebels, they took over one of the ships and they sailed it into our bridges.
see what DEI does? You're letting Houthi rebels in
God,
now.
God damn it, the
You know?
border. It was the open
All
border.
this could have been avoided if my gun safe didn't have a fingerprint on it. I would have been able to stop
I would have
myself.
been able to shoot the cargo ship. God damn it, Brandon, give me my guns. I gotta shoot the cargo ship and save
Oh,
America.
listen, speaking of
Saving
these
America.
maniacs, Romney, McDaniels, whatever she's gonna go by now,
Yeah.
over in MSNBC, baby.
Well,
Finally, a true voice in the news.
she's gotta use the Romney name because
I hope
they
so, man.
they announced that they're not actually gonna have her on air.
Yeah,
They canceled it. Yeah, it's like
yeah,
it's
no,
like
she's
it's
gonna be at
it's like
NBC.
yeah.
Yeah. She could be at MSNBC if only Rachel Maddow hadn't foiled her.
damn rascals. But this is just absolutely. It was like it's just a really brazen thing to
Yeah.
hire another RNC chair, but this one that tried to have the election stolen.
Yeah,
You
man.
know,
Gotta
like
have listen, bird needs both wings to fly. I need to hear from everybody on every side. All right? Like I think her voice is important. I don't even know. Like I told you, I don't know what Rachel Maddow's mad about. Nicole Rogers still works at MSNBC, not NBC. She works at MSNBC.
yeah, no,
Like
and that
a former Bush strategist, like an architect of the Iraq War. Like I don't know,
which
man.
though
Like
you know what it is though is it really like honestly it has nothing to do with like any of the politics of it all. And I
sure,
think that this is something that's like Chuck Todd. When Chuck, because for one thing, I think Chuck Todd about like broke down crying because he's like, I'm gonna get fired, but I don't care. I'm the tough. I'm a tough. You're tough,
yeah,
Chucky.
tough Chucky, tough.
But
Strong boy.
he I think when he said every time, it's like for the past few years, while she was running the RNC,
Yeah,
anytime reporters would reach out, they would get, degraded and
yeah,
harassed and, like, so it's like, that's where it's like, I don't think, because like, obviously that type of access journalism, like the United States media is news media is built on access journalism. It
yes,
is a
yes,
continuous flow of
100%.
people who are in the party politics, and you come in and you say and do the things. Now, and that, but it is when this is where they're like, no, this is going too far. And like they say, hey, she tried to help in the insurrection, which she obviously did.
Yeah, yeah,
You know,
absolutely. She was
but
on board, man. Anything
that
they tossed at her, she was like, okay, all right.
yeah, but like that, like it doesn't really stop anyone, right? Because like
Yeah,
this where too is like if she and like where I mean, there's so many people who went all the way up with Trump.
yeah,
Some of them passed January 6th, but as
yes.
long as they said, "Oops, sorry,
Yes.
Trump
As
bad."
long as they're pendant. I mean, again, like, mentioning Nicole Rogers, like, this is how access journalism will always function, because at the end of the day, they want to grab these freaks for, maybe it's like name recognition, maybe it's like prior experience, and the fact that they still have a lot of like ties within like the industry. It's easier for them to get access within the Washington crowd as well. Like whatever it may be, these people always get rehabilitated and these people always get pulled into like the mechanisms, like that's how this is set up at this
Yeah,
point. It doesn't, you don't need to, sorry, but you don't need credentials anymore. You just have to be somebody that was at one time, does not matter your real affiliation, useful to the political establishment, and you're gonna have a pretty good shot.
yeah.
You
The
got
fact that
Tulsi Gabbard contributing on places like Fox News and
yeah,
elsewhere, and it's like, why are you talking to her?
well, and this is where
What
it's
does she
like
provide?
something where like Claire McCaskill,
Yeah,
like you lost to Josh Hawley,
yeah,
and we're supposed to listen to her on
right,
electoral politics,
right.
right?
Why do I need,
Well, that's where it's like it's one thing of like at least get someone who won, get somebody who
right?
wins.
Why do I need Liz Smith as a contributor? She hasn't won anything in her goddamn life. Like, what?
Yeah, right. The person
Why
that
is
ran the
she?
losing campaign, you needed a shadow app to pretend you won a
Yeah,
state for
but
like.
she selected "High High Hopes" as their campaign slogan, and that was,
I do gotta say, if there's anything that the Pete Buttigieg gave me
yeah,
is
"High High
something.
Hopes" dancing videos.
Well, because now it's like when I'll be like walking through the grocery store and then
Yeah,
like the Muzak stuff will like
to
play
play
it
it.
and I would just bust
You,
out into like maniacal laughter because it's so
yeah.
hilarious, right? Yeah,
Okay,
I'm
all
like
right, yeah.
Joker you guys. I'm what a
Yeah,
loser,
yeah, yeah,
yeah. But no, it's a ridiculous thing, and that's where it's like it's absurd when they do it and the person didn't engage in an insurrection, you
yeah.
know. It's and like she was on a phone call pressuring, like was it Michigan State officials?
Yeah.
Like, come on,
It doesn't, all of that file, like I hate, we said this, years ago, but I hate in 2020, like saying like all of this won't matter one day, all this is gonna go by the wayside. And it absolutely has for the electorate, like these people don't fucking care.
No,
Like they're lining up to vote for Trump again. And the same for, these people that told us 8 years ago, we've learned our lesson. We won't give any free press to Trump anymore. We definitely won't give access to people in his circle. Like we understand, it's Trump bad. We agree. No, that's not what journalism is about these days,
yeah,
at least for, corporate, like, outfits like NBC and MSNBC, CNN. Like these
yeah,
places are, they're not in any way democratic or anything like that. They don't believe in
no,
like the project democracy.
and that's the thing that's like, you know, what's funny too, is like when I when you like I heard like like they've hired Romney and like there's a lot of pushback
Yeah.
from these other access journalists, right? And it's like it did make me chuckle about like the podcast called Manufacturing Content, like because like that's it, right? That's the
Yeah.
thing, like that like
It's like the Amy
you
Goodman video, the one
they
she voices.
right,
Yeah.
because it's just that's what's happening here.
Yeah.
And like no one has to say, oh, we need to hire Romney McDaniel to make sure we lie to the plebs and do, but it's like
Yeah.
these people just think that this is a good decision, right? We have been in like this is our culture, that this is how news media looks,
Yeah.
is you get people who have been in those positions so that they can also not hold those people in positions accountable, just like the last person did.
Yes.
That's that's where we're at. And like that's where what happens to people like Mehdi Hassan, who actually ask tough questions.
Yeah. You're not wrong.
You go
Sorry.
away,
That's
you
it.
will get
Hey, Rachel, what happened to Mehdi?
yeah. Because it's
Hey,
like, and that's where
buddy
it's
with
like
Joe Scarborough, but
it's
what happened to?
because it is one thing to say, hey, this person that was helping and like actively targeting myself and my colleagues,
Yeah.
that's a layup. That's a
Yeah.
layup to say, F this person, they shouldn't be working here.
Yes.
But when someone gets pushed out for doing real journalism and everyone stays quiet,
Yeah.
like they're just continuing the same cycle, right? Let's just Ron
Sure
McDaniel tried to
are.
break the cycle. That's not access journalism. Trying to get me skinned alive
Yeah.
and along the hanging gallows of Mike Pence. If you're some CNN anchor, that's not helpful to anyone, right?
Yeah.
But they're not actually willing to fight for any type of real journalism.
They don't, they would have to have like real like values, like some sort of morals.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No. Oops. No morals.
Yeah. Well, what are you looking forward to, Marcus? What do you got?
Ooh. What am I looking
Mhm.
forward to? I
What's the
gotta
silver
say
lining?
the silver lining.
Yeah.
Well, and I think going back, like where a multipolar world where Daddy G is instituting the Belt and Road Initiative within our country.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
no.
Yes. 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 I hear what you're saying. All right.
I do like, and that's where it's like like every week it's just like so hard. It's like so much bad things going on, and it's like this morning like I woke up and there's like a damn cargo ship running into a fucking bridge.
I got to make my coffee and there's a goddamn shipping container
But
out of my house.
no, and I do what I think it's like what I look forward to give me the hope is the multipolarity, the ever-changing world, the shifting of strength to hopefully
Yeah.
a more egalitarian place, because with all the idiocy, with all the brutality, is is the honesty that I think that the world is seeing, is that, you know, like, the United States can't be the only driver at the wheel here, and you know, it's it's,
Yeah.
it's only a matter of time before some of the rest of the world is like, you know what, let's just try and be normal and
Yeah.
not let the world's greatest weapons manufacturer just drive everything home. But no, yeah, that UN vote, having 10 elected members of the Security Council actually drive a draft. And at least, you know, and whether it's the internal and external politics that made the United States into not vetoing it,
Yeah.
you know, that's something.
Yeah.
That's something. Um, where, yeah, nation states like Malta and Algeria are coming together to say, nah, you know, they're bringing
Kind of
along
crazy.
countries like
Yeah.
South Korea that are very, you know, one of our, you know, would consider a clientele state. Japan as well. They're saying, no, like, actually, we can do some things
Yeah.
outside
Hey,
of these
listen,
great
Niger
powers,
just
right?
said, I think we're done.
Yeah,
I think we're
yeah,
finished, which is
yeah.
crazy, you know?
It's
Like,
yeah, yeah.
like
Um,
NATO freaks and whatnot, completely, out of their minds about that. Like, how will we have a foothold in Africa?
Yeah,
You
wait,
know, like,
maybe you don't.
good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like,
maybe we
maybe you
don't.
just don't have a
Maybe that's it.
foothold, right? Maybe for any type of economic deals, you come to an agreement with the
Yeah,
people who live there. How about that?
maybe,
Maybe,
maybe.
but that's where I see the silver lining
Okay, alright.
yeah.
That's pretty big silver lining. All
I
right.
I think so. I think
Okay,
so. When does it
okay.
come to fruition? Who knows? But it's there. It's there. What about
Yeah.
you?
My silver lining, honestly, financially, things are looking up. I started investing in a stock ticker DJT this morning, and it's looking. I mean, it was 40% up this morning.
To
It
the
drops
moon.
obviously a little bit, but I've got a complex series of puts on it right now in order to short the stock, and I think I think it's got a lot of potential.
To the
So.
moon, baby. Oh,
Think
wow.
that could go well for me.
Oh,
So
no. Yeah, because that's like the whole other thing, right? It's like the whole like an hour podcast. It's not enough. We didn't even
yeah,
make it
yeah,
to
yeah.
Trump.
Man, that shit lit. We'll save that for next week because I don't know. Like we've only got one day of it right now. I want to see a week out what
Yeah.
DJT looks like. Honestly,
Let it cook a
they
minute.
said he doubled his wealth in like a day, which is crazy. Man, people are
Listen,
so crazy.
if you're in the hole though, hundreds of
Yeah.
millions of dollars, it's easy to double your wealth.
Oh
That's
yeah, absolutely.
it's
Yeah.
just a
Sure.
rhetorical trick, right?
Sure. Yeah. Simple.
If
Simple.
you owe the government $500 million,
Yeah.
technically you could double your income very easily, right? I
Yeah.
picked up a
No,
penny.
my actual silver lining is Waffle House workers in Georgia are striking today, and
Yes.
like if there's one picket
Yes.
line I dare somebody to cross,
Oh,
it's theirs.
no, no,
So
you will get a
these people,
steel chair thrown at you.
yeah, this is like the Emperor's Imperial Guard. Like I am
Yeah.
begging you to I beg you to walk into that Waffle House. You know.
Hell yeah. No, I did see that.
Uh,
Which, and that's where it's like there's so many there's a continuing thing, right? There's just something that is continuing and growing and
yeah.
growing.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a good one, man. That's a
More
good one.
labor action, baby. I want to see
Hell
more
yeah.
of it.
Yeah, hot labor summer. Let's go. Times two.
Listen, only 4 more years until Emperor Sean Fane comes into power, and then when he does, he will follow the golden path.
That's right. That's right. Can't wait.
Well, more ManCon next week. We're in double digits now.
Yeah.
Things are heating up.
Yeah. I don't know
Well,
if that means anything, but
it does. Listen, it does.
okay.
Go listen on the apps, watch it. You back with YouTube video this week, the weird things happened last week. I think
Yeah.
it's gonna be okay again.
Well, I kept Winston in his bowl the whole
Nice.
time. So
Good.
yeah. Yeah, he wasn't able to scurry off and rip out the internet cord.
Sabotage, yeah.
Yeah. Bastard.
Little do you know he'll have timers next time. He'll have it set up. He's dexterous.
Those thumbs that he's got hidden in there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sneaky.
Well, we'll be back next week. Y'all enjoy your day.
Peace.